Well, hello again. It's Sunday, the 7th of September 2025, 11:25 in the morning. We've got some showers going through, but I thought I'd have a crack at doing it outside today, doing the video outside. It's just nicer, I think, doing them outside. Got a few drips coming from above. And I do have here my scale model replica of the Rendlesham Forest alien spacecraft. If it does start to shower, so I'll see if I can persevere. I think Jim Penniston, of course, was a big fan of the Bush Tucker Man when he gave his description of the alien spacecraft he saw in Rendlesham Forest. Okay, so the September the 9th UAP hearing will go ahead after all. Complete waste of time, of course, and the US taxpayers' money. There's no first-hand witnesses. The witness list has been announced. You know, there's going to be zero tangible evidence presented. This is going to be a complete waste of time. George Knapp is going to be one of the witnesses. George Knapp, really? You know, the KLS reporter that introduced us to Bob Lazar. You know, Knapp has recently said he doesn't believe in aliens. I've got a funny angle here today because the camera is under the eaves. Hopefully, if it starts to rain, the water it'll keep the water out of the camera. So George Knapp has been peddling all this science fiction rubbish for a very long time, since back in the 80s. He introduced us to Bob Lazar, yet recently he said he doesn't believe in aliens. So why on earth is George Knapp going there? There's a guy called Jeffrey Nuccatelli, who I've never heard of before, who tells us he was told about a huge red flying triangle by some military guys. They gave him their testimonies in writing, but he's since lost them. I mean, really? Come on. Then there's Chief Alexander Wiggins, military radar specialist, who described seeing multiple tic-tac objects emerging from the funny home videos, anybody? Emerging from the ocean and performing advanced flying capabilities. Apparently this has been corroborated. Try and keep the notes dry as well so that I can at least read them. Haven't got to all the trouble of making these notes during the week, of course. Oh, corroborated by Admiral Tim, I have no personal experience with ET Materials Gallaudet. Of course, there's zero tangible evidence to support Chief Wiggins' fanciful yarn. Guy called Dylan Borland, I've never heard of before. Ex-US Air Force geospatial intelligence analyst. We won't know what Mr. Borland is claiming until after the hearing, so can't really comment on that, but I can tell you he's not going to produce any tangible evidence. I'll be here next week to say told you so, of course. I don't have to hear his testimony to know it's bullshit. One thing is for sure and certain, there will be zero tangible evidence to support ETs coming here and crashing here. Zero evidence to support their technology being reverse engineered. This is just a rinse and repeat of the previous hearings. So much for Burlison's "we're only interested in hearing from people who have physically handled ET materials" statement. That seems to have gone by the board, doesn't it? That's not what's happening, is it? You know, more taxpayer money flushed down the wait for it, toilet. I suppose I could have preempted that really, couldn't I? But pretty easy one that to preempt. Paulina Luna said she had never heard of Eric Davis recently when she was asked about him. She had to be reminded that during one of the hearings, was it the last hearing, Eric Davis was actually sitting next to her, telling her all these stories about these different species of aliens that were visiting the planet. And obviously Davis made such an impression on Luna that she didn't remember him at all. She had to be reminded who Eric Davis is. That was the guy sitting next to you and told us about the reptilians, you know, the insectoids, is it? Can you get cream for insectoids from the chemist? Yeah, we'll get back, I think, to Luna a couple of pages further on. As I said before, I make these notes different times during the week, and sometimes I'll see something about like Luna on Monday and then see something else on Friday, you know. So our old mate Ross Coulthart, E.T. Piffle Peddler Extraordinaire, has introduced us to yet another whistleblower that has zero tangible evidence to support his story. A guy called Raisin Best. I don't know how you spell that. Is it like raisin as in dried grape, maybe? Another ex-military officer, Mr. Can you see the drips dripping onto the page and then off the bottom? Another ex-military officer, Mr. Best, tells us he saw a massive, perfectly still elliptical object he estimated to be 6 miles away and approximately 300 feet across, white in colour, comprised of uniform panels that seemed to be all pentagon shaped. 5-sided pentagon shapes, you know, on this elliptical spacecraft. All joined together at their edges, so if you can imagine that, it's a bit like a honeycomb, in fact. I wonder why I didn't use the word honeycomb. These panels, this is sounding, yeah, I'll read it anyway, but I know I know where he's got this from. These panels were mother of pearl or white ceramic colour. Does white ceramic look different to white metal? You could see these panels mirrored as they glistened in the sun. Apparently Arrow nicknamed the object the crystalline potato. The crystalline potato. The nickname would have come from Mr. Best's description, as neither Mr. Best or the 4 people that were with him took any photos of the object at the time. Mind you, 6 miles away, 300 feet, what are you going to see? He tells us this was because they only saw it for around 30 seconds. Now, a 300 foot long object 6 miles away would be about half a degree of arc. Half a degree of arc? 360 degrees. Half a degree of arc. In half a degree, what detail do you think you would see? Would you see panels on it? I mean, imagine an A380, okay, biggest passenger plane in the world. That's 240 feet long. At a distance of 6 miles, it would be 0.35 degrees of arc in length. Would you be able to see any detail on it? Would you be able to tell it was a 380 even? So I think Mr. Best is describing Anna's mothership. No, not Anna Paulina Luna. This is Anna from the second TV series V. Do you remember that? She was the supreme commander of the alien fleet. I think he's describing Anna's mothership from the TV series V, and I'll leave a link below to show you Anna with her mothership. Her panels are hexagonal though. The panels on Anna's mothership in the television series V are 6-sided, not 5. and they all flip over, and she shows a face on the bottom of the ship when she's addressing these feeble earthlings. So I think Mr. Best is a fan of the second television series of the science fiction series of the Alien Invasion V, and he's describing the Supreme Commander's mothership. Of course, he can't say they were hexagonal panels because then it would be absolutely identical. He's got to say they were pentagonal, so they had 5 sides, not 6. I'll leave a link below so you can see that for yourself, and you don't have to picture it in your head. Not that that would be difficult. So he tells us that he could see this detail on a 300-foot object at a distance of 6 miles. As I've said, I very much doubt that. You're talking about half a degree of arc at that distance. You're going to see hexagonal panels. Well, he doesn't say the size of the hexagonal panels, does he? The pentagonal panels, sorry. If there was only 2 or 3. Yeah. There's, you know, where are the 4 colleagues that were with him to back up his story? I think it's just another fanciful yarn with 0 tangible evidence to back it up. And there is an asterisk there, which means, have a look at this page here before we continue. Coulthart also tells us of a sighting on the 9th of July this year. 3 law enforcement officers in the Minneapolis area saw this thing for 2 hours. There was a 2-hour duration for the first sighting and a 4-minute duration for the second sighting, with mobile phone footage. And what we see is about 2 minutes worth of a very small bright dot, which could be the ISS. You know, if I took the ISS is super bright when it goes over. If I took mobile phone footage of the ISS and then jiggled the phone around a bit, it's gonna do that. You know. So they've got 2 hours 4 minutes worth of sighting, and they've got about 2 minutes worth of video on a phone, which could be anything. More likely to be the ISS. They say the object travelled approximately 40 miles in 5 seconds. You know, they're looking at something in the sky. There's no way you can judge that. You know, I mean, I very much doubt I could see something. I live up in the air, go from above my house to 40 miles away. I'd be very surprised if I could see that. I should have researched that actually. What the curvature of the Earth, how far I can actually see. You know. This is the typical sort of stuff that's injected into these stories to create a bit of intrigue. You know, what do you know? They can go 40 miles in 5 seconds. Well, says Coulthart. Mr. Best then goes on to say, in February, some law enforcement officers observed an object from a hill for over 25 minutes. Maybe this phone footage is from this one and not the other one. They observed this object from a hill for 25 minutes, but this is probably the 2 or 3 minute footage that I spoke about earlier. So for the 2-hour 4-minute duration sighting, we had no video footage. Yeah, 3 minutes of video for a, what was that, 25-minute sighting. Rubbish, isn't it? Nonsense, twaddle, drivel. I saw Danny Sheehan, who's looking very, very good for his age, unless he's got an excellent makeup artist. He tells us that all 6 military defence services, the 18 intelligence agencies, and the 32 Defence Department agencies. Now that's going to be called the War Department now, of course. Trump's changed his tune. He's not the president of peace anymore. They're not interested in defence, they're interested in war. Go get 'em, eh, Mr. Trump. CIA must have recovered the P-tapes from the Kremlin. Anyway, I digress. So there's 18 intelligence agencies and the 32 Defence Department agencies that are presently in possession of UFO information and artefacts have to turn these over to the National Archive on September the 30th this year, which is not long, it's only a couple of weeks, isn't it? September the 30th this year, just 3 weeks from now. Yes, I've actually written just 3 weeks. I should read my own notes, really, shouldn't I? I never get bored reading my own notes. It's exciting stuff. Apparently this is now mandated in the House and Senate bill passed in 2023, and anything older than 25 years needs to be publicly released immediately. So it needs to be, all this stuff needs to be handed over to the National Archive by the 30th of September, that's 2.5 weeks or so. And anything older than 25 years needs to be publicly released immediately, unless the President himself, Trump will say, what the hell's all this drivel? What's this bullshit? You want to do what? Specifically directs a particular piece of information should be postponed from public revelation. Now apparently the President will have to put a reason in writing why he doesn't want this particular information disclosed. I'm sure that'll please Trump no end. I have to write, please explain. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Yeah. Anyway, I'm sure Sheehan and Steve Batshit are expecting the Roswell incident to be revealed as the crash of an ET spacecraft, you know, back in 1947. It's well over 25 years old. And of course, they will be bitterly disappointed, as the Roswell incident was very obviously no such thing. It was obviously mogul balloon string number 4. Mac Brazel, the guy who ran the ranch that this object crashed on, described it as balsa wood sticks, tin foil, rubber strips, scotch tape. You know, it's the components of a mogul balloon string. It's not the components of an alien spacecraft. So both of them are going to say, Batshit's going to be jumping up and down saying, truth embargo, truth embargo. We know Roswell was a real crash of an alien spacecraft and they haven't revealed it. Well, in his opinion, it's a crash of an alien spacecraft. The facts tell a completely different story. So Sheehan tells us October the 20th is their second Global Disclosure Day. So that's October the 20th this year. They have it every year apparently. Well, they started it last year because they were expecting to have something to disclose, and of course they didn't get anything to disclose. So they're having another one this year, and they'll be having another one next year, and the year after that, year after that, because they're not going to get anything to disclose this year either. Oh dear. Of course this wouldn't be required if they'd been able to disclose anything last time. If their first Global Disclosure Day had actually disclosed anything, then they wouldn't need a second Disclosure Day, would they? Or a third or fourth or fifth or sixth or seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. It'd be going on and on. Well, Sheehan and Batshit will be long dead, and they'll still be running these Disclosure Days, these fanboys. So he's expecting to, Sheehan and Batshit are expecting to have something to disclose this year after the government departments and agencies hand over all their UFO information and artefacts on September the 30th. So they're saying, okay, well, on September, 30th. So they're expecting to have all this stuff handed over on September the 30th, and then October the 20th, which is only, 2 weeks, a bit shy of 3 weeks after that, they're expecting to be able to disclose all of this stuff. All of this stuff will be disclosed. All this Stuff involving extraterrestrials, biology and technology is just going to be revealed on the September the 30th, and Batshit and Sheehan and Co are going to be telling us all about it on October the 20th. And of course they're going to be sorely disappointed, because nothing's going to be revealed. Because ET's not coming here, ET's not crashing here, ET's never been here, ET's never crashed here. It's all science fiction rubbish. Batshit will be jumping up and down screaming, "Truth embargo! Truth embargo!" as he's been doing for the last 20 years. Batshit will always tell you, we're on the cusp of disclosure. You know, just put some more money in the pot and I'll push for disclosure. Now, yeah, Sheehan tells us he's arranged a private showing of the documentary film Age of Disclosure to members of the United States Senate in the second week of September. So he wants to fill their heads with all this ETs coming here and crashing here bullshit, you know, before they're supposed to hand all this stuff, and tell them to expect all this stuff to be handed over on September the 30th. So the second week of September. So that's next week, is it? Yeah, it is. That's next week. So they're going to be seeing this documentary. It hasn't been released to the public yet because they do not want the senators to see the public reaction to it. Because the public reaction to it, the majority of it, is probably going to be, this is complete and utter bullshit, there's zero tangible evidence here, it's just the usual piffle peddlers spewing their science fiction stories. Elizondo's probably there with his chandelier photograph, you know, and his crop circle photograph. Melon's probably there with his #1 party balloon photograph, you know, look at the alien invasion, look at this. and they don't want the senators reminded of that. So basically he wants to hype them up and get them in the mood for asking where all this stuff is. So he hopes this will influence them, so they will include the 64-page Schumer-Rounds amendment into the National Defence Authorization Act, the NDAA, which presumably is going to be this year sometime, is it? As I've said before, while they've got UAP in there, never going to happen, because military stuff can be, you know, people see that, it's a UAP, got no idea what it is. You need to separate UAP, UFO, from extraterrestrial. There is no tangible link between UAPs and extraterrestrials. Get it out of the picture, it clouds the issue. Who's been working on recovered alien equipment? Alien biology. Forget UAPs. Right out of the picture. I can open the blinds any night of the week and see UAPs. There's no tangible link between them and extraterrestrials. I could look at Flight Radar 24 and identify what they are, if I could be bothered. And even if they're not on Flight Radar 24, it could be someone mucking around with a drone, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I haven't seen this documentary movie. Documentary. Age of Disclosure. It hasn't been released to the public. I've just told you why I think that is. It's just going to be a fanciful yarn fest full of the usual suspects. Bullshit fest. With zero tangible evidence to support any of it. I suspect the members of the US Senate that see this film will fall about. Let's guess what the next word is, shall we? Anybody? Jenkins? You at the back? Laughing. Especially if Elizondo is showing his chandelier photo and his crop irrigation photo, Melon with his party balloon photo. There's going to be others on there saying, I was told. I've been told by reliable people in the military, you know. Zero tangible evidence. I've been told. Avi Loeb tells us that 3i Atlas, now this is real, we know this is a real object, it's travelling through the solar system at the moment. This object has a high nickel content without any iron. This makes it peculiar apparently, because the only way to separate nickel and iron on Earth is with an industrial process. It's quite interesting because iron ore mines and nickel mines here in Australia are separate. You know, you don't have one big mine that mines all the ore and then separates the iron and the nickel. So that's a little odd. Dr. Loeb thinks this may indicate 3i Atlas is the result of alien engineering, extraterrestrial engineering, because they've separated the nickel from the iron. They're only detecting nickel, no iron. Now, if we apply a little bit of critical thinking to this, nickel is regarded as a heavy metal. An alien spacecraft would have to be as low mass as possible. You don't want to be carting any extra mass around the galaxy. So I think if you apply a little bit of critical thinking to this, the fact that they're detecting lots of nickel suggests that it's not a technological object. You know, if aliens were going to engineer a spacecraft to go around the galaxy collecting information and all that sort of stuff, it would be as low mass as possible. And I've said before, they're not going to find any metal in an alien spacecraft, which is my opinion, just with a bit of critical thinking. You know, they're going to be finding... an alien spacecraft will be made of super low mass synthetic materials we can't even imagine yet, you know. As I've said before, we've started playing around with this sort of stuff. We've got graphene, which is super thin, conducts like copper, weighs next to nothing, 20 times stronger than steel, and it's carbon. You know, graphene is carbon. Aliens would have materials far superior to graphene. I don't think they're going to be flying around in a spacecraft made of nickel. I really don't. So, personally, I think the detection of nickel on 3i Atlas rules it out as alien technology. Personal opinion. Critical thinking. So, we won't have long to find out, of course. I think it's the end of October, is it? About the time Sheehan will be going, well, we must be covering it all up, you know, in regard to all this stuff that's supposed to have been released a couple of weeks before. Or a few weeks before, yeah. So, yeah, it's gonna go sailing past because it's a comet. 3i Atlas. I still need the hat. What do you think? Do I look better with the hat? It's got more of an Australian feel with the hat. I can't really see myself on the viewfinder there, so I don't know whether it looks okay or not. Still, as long as you can hear me, I suppose that's the main thing. Now, I thought this was funny. Sean Kirkpatrick, the ex-director of Arrow, you know, the department that the American government set up to look into this, amongst other anomalous phenomena, has commented on next Tuesday's UAP hearing. That's the one that's going to be held on the 9th, a couple of days from now. Now, Dr. Kirkpatrick says, if Luna and her lunatics want to continue to parade charlatans and grifters in front of an audience to satisfy her need for playhouse politics, then the American people should demand accountability of all the wasted taxpayer money and congressional time she has derailed from more serious issues facing this country. Clearly, she's been working quietly with these pseudo-scientists and attention seekers to script a hearing and then launch it as a surprise onto the world, possibly to distract, or more likely because that's all she's qualified to do. In the face of international crisis, where is the accountability? International crisis, interesting term. In the face of international crisis, and Trump's just changed the name of the Defense Department to the War Department. Is there a cloud looming, I wonder? Where is the accountability? Where is Doge? Where is the legitimate target of fraud, waste and abuse in Congress? Where is the DOJ investigation into the congressional misappropriation and corruption associated with trying to funnel money to these grifters and actively obstruct legitimate work by the DOD and the IC Intelligence Committee, is that? Should look that up, shouldn't I? It's a disgrace to the Congress and to the US government and only serves to provide reality TV. Only serves to provide reality TV. So it sounds like Dr. Kirkpatrick and myself are on the same page. I think these hearings are a complete and utter waste of time without any tangible evidence. I thought Eric Davis sitting next to Luna last time, telling her all these stories about these ridiculous alien species that are supposedly visiting, you know, the reptilians and the insectoids and the greys and it's just ludicrous nonsense. So I think Dr. Kirkpatrick is absolutely spot on, and you know, they should be looked at. You know, Luna's spending all this money on these hearings and they're producing nothing. All it is, it's reality TV. I swear, you know, and they'll tell a story. I was told, you know, oh, I can't tell you, I'll tell you in a skiff, you know. And then the skiffs come along and what happens? We'll get to that on the next page, or maybe further down this one. It's quite amusing anyway. So, of course, Dr. Kirkpatrick has said they've looked into these stories in the past, and it's all science fiction rubbish repeated by a core of science fiction piffle peddlers. They seem to be spreading all this information out to everybody. Some have got PhDs, so people are saying, well, you know, this guy says that's what's happening, it must be true. And I've said it before, they should subpoena Hal Puthoff. He's been making all these wild claims for decades. Get him in there, get some detail out of him, and get Arrow to check it out. And no one way or the other. I know what they'll find, of course. Nothing. They'll find it science fiction rubbish. So maybe you know, what they're doing should be looked at, and if they're going to hold another one, I really don't think they will after this one, because this just sounds pathetic to me. It's going to be a pathetic waste of American taxpayer money. George Knapp as a witness in a congressional hearing, really? Another guy that says some people told him about a big red rectangle, flying rectangle. You know, they wrote their testimonies down for him and he lost the testimony. This is the stuff they're looking at. Dr. Kirkpatrick is quite right. I'm surprised he's the only one saying it. So, you know, Burlison has said they were only going to put forward people that had hands-on experience with recovered extraterrestrial materials, technology and biology, and of course there aren't any. So Luna, being the boss, has decided to go ahead and hear more science fiction stories from people that have been told stuff. Yeah. It's going to be a waste of time. People are losing interest in these hearings. If they're not going to have actual tangible evidence, it's not going to be worth having another one. I think this will be the last one. And I think if anyone's above Luna with the money with the purse, they're going to say, you're wasting your time and our money. You know, I'll come to what Luna had to say about that in a minute. You know, people are not remotely interested in fake whistleblowers, and more people every day are waking up to the fact that that's what we're seeing. Fake whistleblowers. And now it seems Grusch did attend a skiff with Luna. With Luna and Burlison. There are no details forthcoming from that skiff, but I think what Luna had to say about it is quite telling. She said that Grusch did attend a skiff with her and Burlison, but he told them that something funny happened to him on the way to the skiff. Something, and it involves the police, you know, he's fearing for his life. Now he knows that because he called in sick for the last skiff, you know, the last skiff Luna organised, you know, Grusch, Elizondo and Nolan all ran away and hid under the table, made up these feeble excuses. Skiff flew, they all call in sick. So now Grusch has gone, oh, well, I can't call in sick again. I've tried that one, you know. Don't get my homework. I'm a bit old for that one. I know. I was threatened on the... I can't say anything because I was run off the road and people said they would kill me if I told you what I know. That he's already told us that he only knows what he's been told by others. You know, so he had to come up with a reason why, when he's sitting in front of Luna and Burlison, he cannot give them any of the information that he promised them. If they organised a skiff for him, he said, organise a skiff and I'll be happy to give you all these details. And this is the second skiff they've organised, and he hasn't given them any of these details. He's made up some feeble excuse as to why he can't tell them what they want to hear or what they need to know, even though he's turned up and he's sitting there in the same room with them. Does anybody need any further evidence that this is bullshit? You know. So a funny, sorry, Senator Luna. A funny thing happened to me on the way to the skiff, and I can't tell you anything. I'm here. I've signed in. You can tell everyone I'm here, but I can't tell you anything. I can't give you any of the information I promised you if you organised me another skiff. Remember, he ran away from Arrow. He wouldn't talk to Arrow. You know, Arrow said, "We'll come and talk to you." He said, "Yeah, fine." Arranged an appointment and didn't turn up. That's Grusch. There's a recurring theme here, isn't there? So, if he gave them any detail, Arrow would be able to check it out and they'd find it's all bullshit. Grusch knows that. They all do. That's why none of these details are forthcoming. There has to be a reason why they cannot go and give these details. Okay, so Grusch was ambushed by scary people who told him not to provide any details. Is that what happened? Luna and Burlison believe this? Come on, really? I know they're politicians, but they should be smart enough to be able to smell that as bullshit, shouldn't they? Really? I mean, they're business. They're in the bullshit business. They should be able to be politicians. They should be able to. Oh mate, they should be able to tell it's bullshit. So Luna's fallen for Grusch's. Luna, well, I don't know if Burlison fell for it, but Luna's certainly fallen for that. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. I can't tell you anything. I'm here. I've signed in, but I can't tell you anything. So Luna's fallen for that, and she said we should reach out to Mr. Grusch. Poor Mr. Grusch. We should reach out to him. You know, he's obviously rattled. And how long was he in the military? And he's worried about his fears for his life. I would have thought anybody in the military would fear for their lives, wouldn't they? At some point. Luna says she also has a number of first-hand whistleblowers that won't testify as they fear for their lives. These people include military contractors, ex-military contractors. You know, look, you know, if you're going to get involved with the military as a as a contractor, your life is going to be in jeopardy, isn't it? You know, this is complete and utter rubbish. You know, they fear for their lives. There has to be a reason why they cannot go in there and give any details. They could go and give details to Arrow at any time. It's like Mr. Best with his crystalline potato. You know, he's obviously given that information to Arrow. And Arrow have said, low information zone, we can't do anything with that, you know. That's what would have happened with that. That's why they're not announcing it. You know, they're saying they're still finding no evidence of visiting extraterrestrials, because they've only got Mr. Best's story to go on with regard to the crystalline, 300-foot crystalline potato. I mean, they can record his statement and say it sounds like a crystalline potato, but low information zone, no further action. What can you do with that? There's nothing you can do with that, is there? So none of these people are real whistleblowers. None of these people have any real information. It's all science fiction rubbish. They've been telling people for years and years all these ridiculous science fiction stories. Now they're asked to go and give these science fiction stories in detail to people that can check them out. No, I'm going to get killed. There's going to be bullets coming through the window, you know. It's complete and utter rubbish, isn't it? It's just nonsense. It would offend the intelligence of a cheese and pickle sandwich. You know, I mean, I've always been a slovenly civilian, and that's because, you know, I wouldn't want my life threatened by joining the military or being a military contractor. Actually, I came close to being a military contractor, but that's a sort of different, with over-the-horizon radar. But I think it's unlikely, unless there was a war, I wouldn't have been in any danger doing that. I suppose the over-the-horizon radar site would have been a prime target if should war break out. But certainly working there in peacetime would not have been dangerous. But anyone getting involved with the military knows that their life could be forfeit. And what about these sort of rough, tough, field military contractor types? They're running away and hiding under the table because someone said they're going to kill them. Doesn't sound very plausible to me. You know? What I think, what I'm certain is happening, is they know it's all bullshit. You know? They can't go and give details because if the details are checked out by Arrow, they'll be revealed to be bullshit. So there aren't any first-hand whistleblowers, so Luna and Burlison and Co. are never ever going to be able to get any. Because ET's not coming here, ET's not crashing here, there are no first-hand witnesses who've handled extraterrestrial, biological or technological materials. It's all bullshit. It's not going to be possible to hold a hearing with people there that have done that. It won't be possible. You know, get Hal Puthoff and Jay Stratton. I mean, they're ignoring Jay Stratton and Jake Barber. They've already put a line through those people. Maybe they've already looked into what Jay Stratton has to say, and they've said it's bullshit. They should get Hal Puthoff in there, though. Subpoena Hal Puthoff and get a line put through Hal Puthoff. Once everyone knows what Hal Puthoff is saying, what Eric Davis is saying is all bullshit, there'll be more and more people walking away from this subject. Less books sold, less DVDs, less TV series made about it. It's a business, you know. That's all it is. It's an entertainment business. So next Tuesday, complete waste of time and money. There probably won't be another one. If there is another one, there's not going to be any witnesses because they're first-hand witnesses, because there are none. And you know, they're never ever going to find any because it's just not happening. You know? I did see some Booga Sphere stuff. and some Peruvian tridactyl stuff, but it's too ridiculous for words. I can't be bothered talking about it, to be honest with you. Anything to do with Jaime Musan, put a line through it. He's a recidivist fake alien pusher. So there we go. So good day from Australia, and yet another Sunday mumbling roundup of what's been happening in the world of the wonderful shrinking world of E.T. pickle peddling. You know, as one stands up, they get knocked down. No evidence? Okay, next. You know. A couple of people there, never heard of them. They've suddenly appeared out of the woodwork with nothing. And there's probably going to be some more next week, so I'll probably be sitting here next Sunday saying, what have I seen? Read out some more names of people I've never heard of. I'll be telling you that the hearing on the 9th was a complete and utter waste of time. You know, I might just as well clip this bit off and put it out as next week's video, mightn't I? As always, if you've struggled through the video all the way to this point, many thanks for watching, and maybe I'll catch you again. Bench seats.